Welcome to the last session and power panel for today. We are going to be talking about, what have we really learned about cloud adoption today. We've got all our panelists here. Thank you for staying this late and wanting to be on this panel. So I'm going to make it very interesting so that our folks can go back from here with remembering who won a contest. So what I'm going to ask you first is I'm going to give you a sheet of paper, and as you introduce introduce yourselves, I want you to write the date you predict, somewhere between 2014 to 2050, when organizations on average would have put 80% of their workloads on a public or private cloud. Is that clear? What year between 2014 and 2015 will organizations...
Or what date? The date.
Not the date, year. Just the year, sorry. Just the year. 2025, 2035, 2032. What between 2014, not the month and day.
I'm not like we got two choices.
I know.
Okay, just pass it. Take your name and pass it on, if you. And write down over there. I'll give you some pens if you don't have a pen.
Yeah, pass it. Just
pass it
pass
on.
the pen down.
One of the things
just in case we forget our names.
Tape it.
And now I remember that I have to use my mics. So let them get a date and
Thank you.
write the date down.
And then you're going to tell us the correct answer.
No, the correct answer is going to be calculated by some very deep analysis, You're going to run through some, lots and lots of cycles.
I think we're good.
It'll be, the average. So this is a crowdsourced model.
Thank you.
The correct is the average. So whoever is closest to the average
Oh, I see.
will be the winner.
Okay.
Of
I
a
thought
very
it was a
big
real
prize.
question. Okay.
Yeah. So
State the question one more time.
the question is,
One more-
what year between 2014 and 2015 will enterprises have on average of 80% of their workload on a public or private cloud? 80%
Okay.
of the workload will be public or private cloud. Just give me a year. That's all of your answers. The correct answer is the average. Okay. Esmeralda, go ahead and introduce yourself and your company and fold it and give it to me.
Hi, is this on?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm Esmeralda Swartz, and I'm with the CMO at Metratech, and we are a billing and settlement provider. So we allow you to bring your products to market and actually make money on it.
Okay, good.
So my name is Barry Morris. I'm founder and CEO of a company called NewODB, next generation database company. You can sort of think of us as Oracle for the cloud. So all of the things that you can do with Oracle, which is SQL and transactions and all those good things, and all the things you can do in the cloud, which is scale out and scale in and continuous availability and all those kinds of good things.
Okay.
I am Roberto Medrano, Executive Vice President of SOA Software. SOS, we are SOA.com, so people confuse us with the service-oriented architecture side. But we are a leader on the API management and SOA governance, and we allow enterprises to manage, monitor, secure the APIs and web services all the way from portfolio management to building, to running, and also to share those APIs with partners and other people that you want to use your APIs with new apps or clouds.
My name's Jeff Tegetoff. I'm the CEO of AppCore. AppCore builds service provider clouds. We manage and support 32 service provider clouds around the world.
Hi, I'm David Rioch. I'm the Senior Director of Cloud Solutions with Gigamon. We're an original equipment manufacturer based in Santa Clara, California. And we manufacture products that enable the selection of traffic inside your physical network and the virtual switch and your software-defined networking, and deliver those packets to the tools that are used to monitor, analyze, and secure your IT infrastructures.
Hi, CJ Radford, Vice President of Cloud for Vormetric. Vormetric is a San Jose, California-based data security solution provider. We focus on securing data at rest on the server side using encryption and key management.
Hi, Rob Carter from Windstream, Director for Cloud and Data Center Services. And if you're familiar with Windstream, one of the telecommunications companies that acquired a data center and cloud hosting business back in 2010 called Hosted Solutions out of the Southeast. And since then, Windstream has funded us to be able to broaden our reach nationwide and overlay those technologies and that process and procedure into the rest of the product portfolio.
Okay. So we are seeing a lot of adoption of cloud, a lot of startups, a lot of companies have created cloud services, are using it. Up till today, 2014, after it has been started and going on since, lots of things have happened, big companies have formed. What are you seeing as one of the biggest barrier for cloud adoption? Who wants to take it first? One biggest barrier, and yeah.
Control. As soon as an enterprise wants to move a workload into the public cloud space, at least I'll say the biggest barrier to entry for public cloud for the enterprise is lack of control. They lose visibility and control that they used to have with the tools, the enterprise class tools that many vendors here this week at Cloud Expo sell, that they've invested in, and those tools are essentially irrelevant as soon as that workload moves to a public cloud space. But keep it short so everybody else has a good chance to chime in too.
Yeah. So this is a sort of a Clinton paraphrase. To me, it's the data stupid. At the end of the day, I think we've managed over a couple of years to solve how to scale out web layers and how to scale out app server layers and how to scale out storage. We're well on the way to solving the security issues, the management issues, and everything else. But at the end of the day, we're stuck with these 1980s databases. And the world runs on SQL and transactions and Oracle and all that stuff. Today, we have not solved that problem. Okay? You cannot scale out these things. You cannot go to Oracle and say, oh, you're not going fast enough. Here's another server. Go twice as fast. Doesn't work. Okay? That's the problem. And that's the thing that we've addressed. But it's, to me, until we've got that solved, we've got this situation where everything else is kind of working, but the enterprise, and you asked the right question earlier, the enterprise is sitting back and saying, you've got to sort out this data problem.
Okay.
So I'd say to piggyback on that point, customers are just confused. There's so much marketing out there. What is cloud? Federation last year is now hybrid in a lot of cases. Our customers are getting bombarded with move to the cloud, but you have the legacy applications and knowing how and what to move and when to move it and the different models. They're being told. I just sat on a session with David Linthicum, and he said about 10% of the companies they deal with are architecting their application appropriately. Mm-hmm. And so the data exists, the applications are legacy, so you go to them, and it may not be a good fit, right? And that's why I struggle a little bit with, and I'm in marketing as well, all of the big data and hybrid cloud that we're throwing out there to customers, but what does that mean to them? And if they're looking at moving workloads to the cloud, how are you going to make it work for them? So you have to have a very detailed conversation, educate them. So I think some of that is just causing them to hesitate on making the move, even though we all think that the right things are to do, but it's a combination of many of our companies at the end of the day to make that work for clients.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. And we, as servicing service providers, we get to hear what their enterprise customers are saying, and they've been overloaded with information. They don't know what to do next. I know I did a talk with someone from Citrix she talked about cloud native workloads, and there's just not a lot of cloud native applications out there for enterprises to know what to do next. I know our service providers really struggle with go-to-market strategies because they don't know what the enterprise, we've seen enterprises have dev environments in the cloud and they're willing to do that, but it's like, now what? Yeah. And we're starting to just see, I think, the beginning of people moving, VDI solutions into cloud or things of that sort, but it's from the enterprise, they're struggling with, well, what do I move next into a cloud environment?
Okay.
We do a lot of enterprise. We only sell to the enterprise guys, and this guy's been struggling the same way we struggled the last 5 years when the cloud vendors wanted us to move to the cloud as well. And Microsoft will come to me as a partner and say, move everything to Azure, all your applications, all your products. And I say, show me an enterprise that is doing Azure's. And not until now, they're actually starting to see that. So it's a lot of misconception because we throw cloud names at them. The enterprise guys they really are not moving as fast as you would think. It's like they didn't move quickly from the mainframe away to distributed applications and away from distributed applications to other applications. They're not moving that fast. And they're happy with what they're doing, except they want to figure out how to use the mobile side. Mobile is actually becoming faster than cloud only. But also these regulatory environments that they face, a bank or a health, how are they going to move this thing to whatever they want to do? Can they see their servers? I mean, some of these guys said, I still need to comply with my checklist about seeing my servers, whatever they are. Amazon, you cannot see them, right? So you have to go to Terramark to actually see that's my server right there. So a combination of inertia, a combination of security issues that they had, a combination of not knowing what cloud really means. A lot of people were pushing open cloud for a long time, and eventually people are moving to the private cloud, and that's really what is helping the enterprises. And what does really mean still? So that all the stuff is working now. It's starting to work.
You brought up mobile. I mean, so is that one area, one way of delivery that is growing because of cloud, and it's also, you know, a barrier, or it's a benefit? I mean,
well, I see it as your server infrastructure is on the cloud, so you got to do that stuff, and your client infrastructure has to be on your mobile device, and mobile is growing a lot of leaps and bounds. We sell API, security API management, so mobile has to work like that. We also have to, with API gateways, move our web services or APIs into the cloud. So we see that kind of a environment quite well from both sides.
So what you're seeing is CIOs saying not only be cloud-enabled, but also be mobile-enabled when it's same time. So Esmeralda, you know?
Yeah, I think it comes down to enterprises just don't feel comfortable. I think once they go down the private cloud path, which is the majority of large enterprises today, they have that infrastructure, they're very comfortable with it, and I think that the natural next point is actually the hybrid model.
Okay.
And being able to burst workloads to a public cloud. I think that there's also the issue of lack of portability between cloud providers, which holds people back.
Yeah.
I mean, just to sort of support that, what we're seeing is the end point is hybrid, not some staging point. The end point is hybrid. And by the way, all of the big players are going that way.
Yeah.
If you look at what IBM and Microsoft and Oracle and everybody else is doing, they're trying to do the hybrid thing. But even in the context of hybrid, you've got this same fundamental kind of data level issue.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting, though. This is our third year back at Cloud Expo. And I mean, for the people that have been here for a couple of years, I mean, even last year, there was still kind of like, what is cloud panels? I mean, the audience has definitely matured quite a bit, and we've almost done ourselves a disservice by undereducating them the last couple of years. But I agree that as the market gets more educated, moving into hybrid environments or true multi-cloud environments is the end game.
Did you have something? Yeah.
Yeah, one thing we've seen from our large enterprise customer base, and we're in 17 of Fortune 25, so we're dealing with the largest companies in the world, arguably. They're encrypting and managing their own keys on-prem, the data that they have on-prem. They're encrypting and managing their keys on-prem. And when they move out to the cloud, they're looking for ways in how to do that, but also how to manage their own keys, maintain custodianship of their own keys. And that's one thing that some of these other large service providers that we work with, like Azure, Amazon, Rackspace, and others, have come to us and have asked us to use our solution to be able to do that, allow enterprises to move their data into our cloud, but into their clouds, but extend key ownership to those enterprises.
And I would say, to piggyback that as well, what we've seen is a lot of the software providers that we deal with from a service provider perspective, we break a lot of technology because it was made for enterprises. So when we're looking to deploy at scale, multi-tenancy, we see that software is not capable of meeting the needs. I mean, we've been asking for things for the last 4 or 5 years that are just now coming to fruition from some of the larger players. When you talk about encryption, real use cases, I want to manage my keys, but all of a sudden that backup service, it looks like a full backup every night, and then they wonder why their backup overages are unbelievable, right? And so unless you find a piece of software that is capable of dealing with that, not going to kill them from a budgetary standpoint, and is multi-tenancy, right?
Can I just
Okay.
pick up on the multi-cloud point? I thought that was kind of very important. Just a few minutes ago, my CTO demonstrated our product running across the soft layer cloud and two Amazon separate clouds, a single database with transactional consistency. Why is that important? It's this issue, and it goes very deep. CIOs, strategic CIOs, have spent years getting choice. Okay, they've moved to commodity servers, they've moved to Linux, they've got choice, choice, choice. And now the cloud vendors are trying to lock them into no choice. And this is a very significant issue. And so a strategic CIO is going to create choice by A, having a private cloud, and B, having more than one cloud vendor, and aim to make themselves kind of transportable between them. Again, that's a much harder problem than just the one that generally gets talked about, which is how can I succeed on Amazon or something.
I think the genie's out of the bottle at this point, so I completely agree, because I think once you start going down the private cloud path, then, as you said, the destination is actually hybrid.
Yeah, I agree.
They want choice, and they're not, once that is there, they're not about to give that up.
So hold on just a second. We've finished half of our time, and we have talked about barriers. So the next thing we want to talk about are examples, use cases. What are enterprises who are moving? What are the first things they're doing? And what we'll do is have you quickly take one use case each. We'll pick up one in common, and we'll discuss that in more detail. How does that sound? Okay, so who wants to go first? Go ahead, Esmeralda. But one of the use cases that most enterprises are using in common.
So speaking as an enterprise ourselves, so we deployed platform as a service 4 years ago, which 4 years ago that was actually a big deal, to develop our new SaaS application.
Okay.
We did that quite successfully. So we have we're using platform as a service. We have our SaaS application, and then we've helped providers actually come to market with IaaS offerings that are more than just an Amazon clone.
Right.
So I think the key to entering the market for infrastructure as a service is that if you are coming to market just to compete on price, don't bother, because you'll end up losing. So how do you then wrap value-added offerings on top of that appeal to enterprises? So it's things like the security as a service, disaster as a service. And I think that there's opportunity for differentiation if you do it correctly.
Okay, so we got one which is platform as a service. I focus on platform as a service at IDC, so it's very interesting that I found somebody who's done it for 4 years. So I need to talk to you more after this. But really quick, what is the one use case you have?
Briefly, let me talk about a financial services customer. Probably one of the most advanced in terms of private cloud. So that's the strategy. Implement private cloud, get really good at it. And next step, moving towards incrementally some public clouds in a kind of a hybrid environment. And back to so how do they do that? The first thing is to move to a private cloud and get the benefits of the private cloud. You need scale-out database capability that's nevertheless SQL and transactions. And then the beauty of moving to a hybrid cloud where you can do exactly this kind of cloud bursting stuff. You can actually put stuff that's on the cloud and at the same time local with data on both sides that's transactionally consistent. That's the path. So it's incremental, it's thoughtful, it's step by step, and again, strategic.
Okay. Roberto?
See, in some cases at the beginning, some people start moving cloud stuff like burst for websites and all those things like that. What I've seen more lately is B2B applications that are partner applications that you can do. The most successful guys are the guys that already have a service-oriented architecture of some kind, or a service-oriented or an API layer of some kind, and they can actually do that very effectively. But that's what I've seen lately.
Okay, so B2B apps.
It's the easiest way. It's a new application rather than try to move something from inside to, and then you can use native applications on the cloud as well, rather than try to create your own things.
So yeah, it's platform as a service used to create SaaS. We got you with private clouds moving to hybrid and public, and B2B services.
Yeah, for us, it's enabling a service provider who owns a network to have their enterprise customer be able to provision off a multi-tenant private cloud, a on-premise, a multi-tenant public cloud, a on-premise private cloud, and maybe bare metal all through one interface, and being able to administer it through one interface. I think that's predecessor to true multi-cloud, which I think we'll see much in the coming months. I think we'll see some major providers thrown out where you not only be able to do that on under one orchestration, but on multiple clouds.
Okay. So you're talking about private, public, administering it commonly, having portability among them. And
Yeah, I mean, we're still finding a lot of enterprises who are doing that, but through multiple interfaces.
Right. So common interface for managing everything.
Yeah, I think that no public cloud adoption ever happens without a hybrid cloud being existent in the enterprise space to begin with, as I think we're all pretty much in consensus there. But that the comments about managing your own private IT space with web-scale IT management capabilities that the public players are using is the first step. But what happens is those panels are coming for management of the private cloud, and they're very mature today, in my opinion. But nevertheless, the enterprise infrastructure and the enterprise application architecture is very enterprise unique. And until the public cloud service provider space enables those enterprise class capabilities in their public cloud infrastructure, which is much more than a platform for platform as a service in the public space, which in my opinion, we're not really rising too far above platform and infrastructure as a service yet. And so when we start seeing those enterprise technologies and of course I'm going to reference some of those that Gigamon provides our customers in the market space, those capabilities have to exist in the public space that are above and beyond core infrastructure services that the cloud providers offer today. And that's our use case, is seeing more advanced capabilities so I can run my infrastructure as I do today in my private data centers.
Got it.
So we have a big push towards tier one service providers globally to help them take our encryption and key management platform and deliver that as a service into their end customer base. And so they're using our Vormetric data security platform to essentially make their service offering more attractive, more secure, so that they can take on more enterprise class workloads, production level workloads, and move that into their own cloud environment. So, as an example, we have Rackspace and Virtustream doing that today. So that's my use case.
Yep. So there was a lot of use cases, and I have to come up with one original here. But
no, you don't have
no, I'm kidding. So no,
you just really enable all of
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. No, so I'll give you a real world example of a client that we have. Early on in 2009, if we all went to some of the VMware, Cisco, EMC, NetApp, whatever they were, sessions, and people said, how many people are doing cloud? And like 2 people would raise their hands, and then next 6 months later, everyone was raising their hand. It wasn't about just saving power costs, right? And that's what it was originally positioned as. I mean, it's about the features and agility and all the benefits that you've heard. But we ran into a real life case of a client that generates considerable amount of money from an e-commerce standpoint on Thanksgiving. It was a Black Friday, and this is a true story. They went private cloud. We had Sun-branded virtual containers, and we went into a VMware private cloud as well. And they had all their search engines in that environment. While marketing did a great job, they got crushed. Literally, their search engines were failing. Customers were not completing their transactions. So we, on the fly, created, and we've had hybrid as an offering within our data center. So we have public clouds, 8 multi-tenant public clouds, and then customers have many private clouds. Enabled that connectivity and allowed them to truly cloud burst. And so we moved all their search engines over into the public cloud, freed up the resources. They were able to then scale that and be successful. And I will say that that customers now moved more and more from that lesson. So private clouds are great. Customers want to get in. There's many reasons why they're great, but it's a finite amount of resources. And if you don't have that hybrid link and you have connectivity to public cloud, they realize that they can get burned pretty quickly because you do have to add additional hosts to it. You do have to put physical gear in. There's cabling. There's all kinds of things that have to get done. Whereas public cloud, it's there, right? It's provisioned. It's just capacity. So they were early adopters of cloud, early adopters of private, and now they're huge proponents of public cloud and using hybrid services. Okay. And I would say over 60%, and this is actually a stat from last year, but over 60% of our clients do buy hybrid connectivity within our data center itself.
Right. So I think what I'm hearing from all of you, the most common is private, public, hybrid, and it becomes that you're going to move to cloud one way or the other, and you're going to have a combination of the two. Hybrid clouds, when I look at it, there are two types of things. One is the scaling, which you said, when you need it, burst into public, come back. One of them is integration, using some very good integration provider, where you run some workloads in, some workloads out, keep those workloads out, leave them alone there, and have that kind of a way, and then keep moving things around. In some cases, I look at hybrid cloud, not exactly in a public-private, but multiple private. You have multiple data centers, and you move workloads from there. So I see there are two issues. There is an integration issue from integrating multiple applications, and then there is workload mobility, where you move workloads from one to the other. But I've not seen so many people really get workload mobility truly between private and public. So I want you all to answer what you see in that space on workload mobility and what standards are coming up there, if there are any, that will enable that to help enterprise cloud adoption. Because it's great for somebody to have so much of a data center, but do I keep growing that? Do I keep shrinking that? Or how do I work in a hybrid environment?
So I'll go first because I had to go last one. But no, it's like the fantasy draft here. So I'll say, and actually I'm doing a presentation tomorrow on this, so it may be a repeat if anyone shows up. But hybrid was something we had to do when we launched our public cloud in 2009. And it's because we had customers that had Oracle databases and the licensing. You can't license your whole multi-tenant cloud for that, so you had to keep physical servers, or they have an AS400 or whatever. I hear a lot about, and I was in EMC World, and it was like build a hybrid cloud live. And I walked over there and asked them what they were doing, and they literally were just building a vBlock. And I'm like, okay, how is that a hybrid cloud, right? But so I think, again, there's a lot of FUD out there, and the thought of moving workloads between clouds and all the APIs and all of the data that then gets spread out, and how do you do analytics with that, I think we still have a ways to go. And I'm sure there's some people that are doing it, right? But at scale and in a way where it makes sense for the clients, I don't see it in practice that much right now. And so, what we've done is within the data center, the latency, connectivity, there's more control. I feel like that's the next best step. Obviously, that's not where it ends, but you need to find someone that can help at least get you to that point. And then our roadmap is to look to connect to other clouds and even connect our other existing cloud pods. It's hard enough to do within your data center and orchestrate one pod between sites or customers, unless some of our friends can help us here. But I would say that's a challenge.
I want to be difficult about this, because I don't think it's about workload mobility. I think workload mobility is easy. The hard part is data mobility. Yeah. The hard part, the reason you can't move the workloads isn't because you don't know how to move the workloads. It's the fact that the data is sitting either in your data center or on the cloud.
Yeah, but that's still a data workload. It's a workload in a sense, if you look at it. Yeah.
But that hides the fact, which is the problem is if you've got these old-fashioned databases, your data is in one place.
Yeah.
What you need is a database that can do all the same things, but can keep a full copy of the database on as many clouds as you want, as well as in your data center. You do that, and moving the workloads that access that data is easy. And so I'm going to go back to what I started with, which is at the end of the day, it's the data, stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. We work really closely with Citrix, and it's interesting that, although they made the acquisition of Cloud.com back in late 2011, that their cloud platform version of Cloud Stack just a couple months ago has been set up to fully feature and fully enhance Zen Desktop, Zen App, Zen Server. And Citrix's whole mantra is about mobility. And just for the first time in their corporate history now, their flagship products, Zen Server and Zen App and Zen Desktop, can now function well on cloud platform, their own orchestration engine. But we are seeing, use cases already where enterprises are getting true mobility, but it's a full Citrix suite.
Okay. Yeah. So if you have a common suite, it's more applicable.
Yeah.
Then you have the lock-in issue and all that stuff.
Yeah, but I do think that's going to change pretty rapidly.
Yeah, I would just add that there are several commercial tools that have reached a very good level of maturity, off-the-shelf software management tools, that are able to migrate workloads across disparate and competitive cloud platforms in the public space. The data migration is getting very close to being solved, so that data is becoming more and more portable. But the applications are extremely complex in the enterprise today. Everything is API-based. There's no, the large monolithic apps are kind of dying off. They're still there in a lot of financial sectors and things. But having the ability to manage the mobility of a workload is key to seeing workload mobility. But at the same time, those tools have to answer the question, why would I move a workload from one provider to the other?
Okay.
And I don't know.
Let me pick on that, because I think a cloud strategy, as you can tell, I can push my API platform because you need it, right? He can push his data because you need it. A data center doesn't have one thing to migrate things. It's got servers, it's got all this infrastructure, it's got applications, it's got security, it's got all these things. In essence, for a cloud environment, you're going to need multiple stuff. Probably some of this stuff that is here, but it's a multiple. So a cloud strategy has to have a bunch of stuff, and not just one thing. What do you migrate? What do you migrate? And also, when can you migrate away from the vendor that you don't like? When you can migrate from those guys that you were there, but now you're going to move it. Can you do it easily or not? But there's a bunch of stuff that you have to consider. Okay. It's not one little thing.
I don't think that's not unique to cloud, by the way. That's in general, that's the way it is, right? If you don't make it easy for people to take advantage of what they already have, you're going to get the resistance. When we did our SaaS offering, that was easy because it was a clean slate. We still had our on-prem software that we were utilizing a private cloud, right? But unless it's a startup where it's fresh slate, you're going to have all the problems that the
that's always. Did somebody not answer, or we went through the whole panel for this? If that's the case, I think we've got thing, but now we have to find who's the winner. So Vanessa, my assistant.
Oh, wow.
You're going to announce who did it, and what is the procedure you use?
So I did an algorithm with major analytics.
Big data.
So what I did was basically took all the years and added them and divided by and got the average. The average was 2022.
2022. Okay.
However, there is a tie. So, Larry, I think we should have a tiebreaker. The tie is between Jeff and CJ.
Wow. So we got a tie and two people. So we got a very large prize. It's $1,000, $950 of bragging rights, and $50 of a Starbucks
Coffee.
gift card. So what we'll do is we'll double the Starbucks gift card, and we'll give one person the.
Okay, perfect.
Jeff.
Yeah.
And who was the other? CJ.
CJ,
Give you
yes.
an emailed Starbucks card.
Great.
What was the date?
And
Ice?
But out of the okay, the two of you, just a
You're
quick
gonna tell us
question.
what they get.
And what year was AWS started?
2007?
Yeah, I agree.
2007.
2006.
That's debatable. Though.
Yeah. What were the dates that you chose?
we're not having a tie for that. We're
2020.
giving both of them a $50 Starbucks card. But you heard it here. 2022 is when we are going to have enterprises have 80% on average on either a public and private cloud of their workloads.
Gotta put a
on
date in
public
my
and private
calendar.
cloud. So good. With that, give our panel a round of applause. Thank you.
Well done.